All right, let's get right into it. If you're a business analyst, your entire job really is to make sense of the complex. But what happens when that complexity is buried in millions, even billions of rows of data? Well, we're going to explore how PostgreSQL can become your secret weapon for turning that raw data into actual strategic decisions. You know, everything we do as BAs really starts right here, with this one simple idea from the Babbitt Guide, the need. We're always trying to solve a problem or chase an opportunity. But today, that comes with a pretty big twist.
And that twist? The problem is the data itself. The answers you're looking for, the ones that help you define requirements, understand stakeholders, or assess value, they aren't just in meetings anymore. They're literally flowing through the company's databases. And to get to them, you can't just ask people questions. You have to ask the data directly.
So let's start with a core task, something you do all the time, analyzing the current state. We're going to see how a really simple SQL query lets you investigate that as-is world with a kind of precision you just can't get any other way.
Here's a question you've probably asked 1,000 times in different ways. It's a classic for defining scope. Now, you could try to figure this out in workshops, sure. But if that information exists in a database, we can get a rock-solid answer right from the source. So, how do we actually ask the database?
Well, it all starts with the select statement. This is basically you telling the database exactly what you want to see. Think of it like you're looking at a giant spreadsheet and you're just picking the columns you care about. In this case, we just want the stakeholder's name and the relationship to the project.
Next up is the from clause. This part's easy. It just tells the database where to go look for the information. We're pointing it to a table we've called stakeholders, which is where, you guessed it, all our stakeholder info lives. So we've told it what we want and where to find it. Simple enough, right?
And here is where it gets really useful. The where clause. This is your filter. Out of all the thousands of stakeholders in that table, we're telling Postgres, hey, only show me the ones that meet this one specific condition. In this case, where their relationship is marked as external.
And boom, there's our result. It's clean, simple, and there's no ambiguity. With just one simple, three-part query, you've sliced right through a huge table of data to get a perfect, targeted list that answers your business question. That's what direct access to real insight looks like.
Okay, so that was the basic building block. But you know as well as I do, business analysis is almost never about looking at just one thing in isolation. It's all about connecting the dots. So let's see how we can take what we just learned and do something way more powerful.
Now think about a question like this. Answering this is absolutely crucial if you want to make sure your project is actually delivering value. But what if your requirements are stored in one system and your business objectives are tracked somewhere else? How do you possibly bridge that gap?
You've probably seen this 100 times. Our data is split, we have one table for requirements and a totally separate one for objectives. But look closely. They both have one piece of information in common, that objective_ID. That shared key is the bridge we're going to use.
And to connect them, we use a command called a join. A join is just a way of telling Postgres to look at both tables, find the rows where that objective ID matches up, and then, just for our query, stitch them together into a single combined view.
And this is what it looks like in practice. That join command tells PostgreSQL to look at both tables, and the on part gives it the specific rule for matching them up, where the objective ID is the same in both. It's amazing, right? This one line of code connects two completely different sets of data so we can analyze them as one.
So we can pull data, we can connect it, but the real magic happens when you start analyzing that connected data. This is where we go beyond just finding things and start measuring performance and assessing real value. This is where PostgreSQL gets really, really powerful.
All right, check out this question. We're not just asking for a list of scores. We want a ranking of components. But here's the kicker. We need that ranking calculated separately for each business capability. A simple sort or an average just isn't going to cut it here.
Without the right tools, this is pretty much what our data looks like. Yeah, we can see all the components and their scores, but it's a mess. Trying to quickly spot the top performers for the sales team versus the logistics team? Good luck. The insight is completely buried in there.
To solve this, we're going to use something called a window function. These things are incredible. See, unlike a normal function that just squishes a bunch of rows into one number, a window function can do a calculation, like figuring out a rank, across a window of related rows, all while keeping every single row intact.
And here's the magic right here.
The rank function is telling the database to order everything by its performance score. But that little phrase, partition by capability, that is the absolute game changer. It basically tells the query to create a separate little window for each capability, so the ranking starts over from number 1 for each one.
And now, look at the result. It's perfectly clear. With just one command, we've added a new rank column that instantly shows us the top-performing component inside of every single business area. This is exactly how data analysis starts driving strategic decisions.
So let's bring this all home. Learning SQL, it isn't about changing what you do as a business analyst. Not at all. It's about giving you a direct, high-powered tool to do your job better, faster, and honestly, with a lot more confidence. And just look at how these SQL commands map directly to your core BA competencies from the Babel Guide. A simple select where query, that is analytical thinking in action. Using a join to connect ideas, that is conceptual thinking. And those window functions, that's the engine for your metrics and KPIs. Every query you write is a direct application of a core BA skill you already have.
So here's the big takeaway. The data has always held the answers. With a tool like PostgreSQL, that barrier between you and those answers just disappears. Suddenly, your ability to deliver value isn't limited by your access to information anymore. It's only limited by the creativity and the insight of the questions you choose to ask.